Hey guys, it's me, Gabby from GoNaturalEnglish.com, and we're here today to share 3 easy ways for you to speak more clearly, more like a native. This is instantly going to improve your English skills. So hold on, because Teacher Luke is going to instruct you with these awesome hacks I am so excited to share with you. But I'm also excited because a lot of you have been asking about how to practice your English speaking skills, how to speak more clearly, fast, and fluently. So here's the thing. There's a lot of you, and I need a solution that is going to help a lot of you quickly. And I think I've found it. It's called ELSA Speak, and it's an app that you can download using the link in the description. When you use that link in the description, you can get a free 7-day trial or 85% off a lifetime membership or 40% off a 1-year membership. So it's a really good opportunity for you to practice your English, and let me tell you why. ELSA Speak uses artificial intelligence to pinpoint your mistakes and give you feedback on how to speak more like a native. This is revolutionary. And learning with ELSA, it's not just about improving your pronunciation, it also helps you with intonation, vocabulary, and improving your overall flow and fluency. You don't just practice individual words, you practice phrases, real-world, practical, useful phrases. ELSA Speak also has an amazing dictionary feature that helps you to pronounce any word. So it's not just the words or phrases in the app that you learn, but if you ever have doubts about anything, you can check it in the app. You can create study sets to review and practice, and there's a community feature where you can add your friends, your family, your colleagues, anyone that you want to practice with, and you can ask for help there too. If you ever have questions, you're not alone. I really suggest you try ELSA because you might be surprised at how much you can learn with an app. It's not just like another simple app. It gives you feedback, and that is the most important in your English progress. I want to show you a little bit about how ELSA works.
What's up?
What's up?
Can I use this?
Can I use this?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, my name is Elsa.
Hi, Elsa. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Where are you from?
I'm from the United States of America.
One cause.
One cause. One cause. One cause.
Now let's hand it over to Teacher Luke, who's going to teach us 3 ways to sound much more clear when we speak English.
Hi there, I'm Luke, your friendly linguistics and language enthusiast, and this is Go Natural English. Look at these 3 words. Did you notice that one letter is pronounced differently in all 3 of them? Can you guess which one it is? If you guessed the letter T, then you are correct. Have you ever wondered why that is, that some words are spelled with the letter T are spelled differently than other words that are spelled with the very same letter? In this video, I'm going to be walking you through some of the reasons why. Learning how to use these 3 different pronunciations of T will do wonders for your American English pronunciation. Stick with me until the end because I'll have a quiz to test your knowledge. Some things to keep in mind before we get started. Number 1, I've said this in other videos, but it's important to remember because looking at a letter can sometimes trick us into thinking that a word is pronounced a certain way. But we have to remember that English has lots of cases where words are not pronounced quite as they look when you spell them. So keep that in mind throughout this lesson. Secondly, I'm sharing this information to give you some insight into why English speakers use these patterns. Do not get bogged down by the rules, because at the end of the day, we learn by practicing and imitating what we hear. So use this information to know what to listen for in American English speakers, but don't get too stressed out about the rules. It will come with time. Number 3, Remember that these patterns mostly apply to American English and not so much other varieties of English, such as British English. And finally, number 4, I always like to remind my students that these are patterns, not rules. The reason why we say this is because there are always exceptions to a rule. I will do my best to point out the exceptions as we go along, but do keep that in mind throughout the course of the video. All right, guys, are you ready to get started with some tips that are seriously going to improve your English? Let's go. Let's start the countdown with number 1, which we call a tap or a flap. If you've seen this symbol in a pronunciation dictionary, that's what this is referring to. I like to think of a tap or flap as a fast, soft D sound. We use this flap sound when we have a T or a D that is part of an unstressed syllable and is between vowels. I know that sounds like a lot of information, but we're going to go through plenty of examples and explain how to make this sound. Students who are trying to improve their North American English pronunciation will inevitably come across words that are spelled with a T, but are really pronounced not quite like that. For example, many students will say words like water, butter, pretty, and city, but American speakers don't say these sounds with a true T. Instead, we say water, butter, pretty, city. It's important to remember that some varieties of English do not do this, such as British English, where they often say things like water and pretty with true T. American and Canadian English do this tap or flap. We like to treat this as a fast and soft D sound. So we don't say water, but we tend to say water, water, city, city. It's called a tap because it's almost like your tongue is tapping the front of your mouth. So try that with me. Water, butter, pretty, city. Interestingly, because Americans say T's and D's in these words as the same tap sound, whereas British people say these words differently with a T sound and a D sound. This results in some word pairs that are pronounced the same in American English, but are pronounced differently in British English. Let's take, for example, a word like ladder and ladder. Both are pronounced the same in North American English, but British English would be latta and ladda, where they say them differently and distinctly. So let's break down the rules of how we know when to make this tap or flap sound. The first thing to look for is that they are between vowels. So all of the examples that we gave were T's and D's that had a vowel that came before the sound and had a vowel that came after. We have to remember that when I say vowels, I'm referring to vowel sound, not vowel letters. This is important because there are certain words in English that are spelled with a consonant coming after a T, but are actually pronounced with a vowel coming after. A perfect example are words that end in LE, so words like bottle and shuttle. You'll notice that they are spelled TTLE, but when you listen to it, it's not like we say bottle or shuttle. Instead, it's an ul sound, with the being a vowel. So therefore, because we have those T's between and ul, in the case of ba-dol, and between and ul for sh-dol, we tap or flap that T sound via fast, soft D. Another important thing to remember is that in English, R is a strange sound and can often be treated more like a vowel. If you're unfamiliar with this idea, I do encourage you to check out my video on R. The reason why I mention this is because when R is at the end of a syllable or word, it acts like a vowel, which in turn affects whether we flap or tap our T and D sound. So words like party are pronounced with a flap D rather than party. So some examples. In American English, we don't say dirty, quarter, and 30, but rather we use tap sounds by saying dirty, quarter, and 30. Let's talk about what I meant by stress. If you remember, I mentioned that we tend to use this tap or flap sound in unstressed syllables. All of the words I've given you so far have been words that had stress on the first syllable and were unstressed on the second syllable where the T was connected to. Party, dirty, bottle, etc. Watch what happens though when we have a T that's in the middle of a word between vowels, but it's the stressed syllable. Compare the word Italy, that is tapped and flapped, versus Italian, which is not. Why is that? It's because the second syllable in Italian is stressed, whereas the second syllable with the T in Italy is not stressed, because the first syllable, is stressed in Italy. Let me say those words again. Italy with a tap sound because it's unstressed, whereas Italian with a true T sound because it is stressed. Last point I wanted to mention on this topic is that it doesn't only apply within words, but also between words. Listen to these sentences and notice how the T is flapped. What are you doing on Saturday? You'll notice that there are two flapped T's here. One of them, understandably, is found in the word Saturday, one word between two vowels, pretty straightforward. But did you notice the other one? It was in what are. We don't say, what are you doing, but what are you doing? What are you doing? There's a little tap there because of the vowel before the T in what, and then the vowel after the T in the following word, are. Let's do another example. I'm meeting friends at a new Italian place. There are three T's in here. We have the T in meeting that becomes a flap within one word. We have a T in atta, which is between two words. And then we have Italian, which, as we discussed earlier, we do not tap because it's the stressed syllable. Let's move on to number 2, and that is what is called a glottal stop. You'll see glottal stops written like this in pronunciation dictionaries. This sound is made by cutting off the sound in your throat and can be heard quite frequently in certain English expressions like uh-oh, uh-oh. Do you hear that slight hard sound that comes from your throat right before each vowel? We don't say oh, but uh-oh, uh-oh. Those hard, throaty sounds are again called glottal stops. And for some of my Arabic viewers watching this, you guys use this sound a lot in your language, so you should be well familiar with this sound. We don't use this sound a lot in English, but we do use it when we have a T before an un syllable. Let's discuss some examples. We don't say Eton, Britain, certain, Manhattan, or fountain, but we tend to say Eton, certain, Britain, Manhattan, fountain. Do you notice how we don't really say a T? It's more of that throaty sound that we throw in there. Be sure to practice it yourself and see if you can imitate this sound. If you're not sure how to, I usually start with those uh-oh, uh-oh as a starting point, and then try and build it into those words. Last but not least, we have number 3, which is when we have T at the ends of words. You may notice with careful listening that most Americans don't say words like but, don't, and not. In fact, the T is often a lot softer and at times can be hard to hear to non-native English speakers. So rather than but, don't, and not, they tend to say but, don't, not. What's going on here and how do you make this sound? We call these T's unreleased T's. And what they mean is that the tongue goes up to the roof of the mouth to make a T sound like we do in other words like to, but we don't release the tongue. In fact, the tongue just kind of sits there. Try this with me. Say the word to. When you move from the T to the vowel oo, you should feel that your tongue slaps the roof of your mouth quite hard to say to. But when we say T's at the ends of words, we often don't release that sound and we just let the tongue kind of sit there. So we don't say but. Instead we say but. The tongue never goes down. Adding this to your English can do wonders to how natural your English sounds. This will also make you sound much less like a foreign English speaker. I did mention that I would be talking about exceptions, and there are exceptions to this unreleased T. And mainly they are when there is a consonant before the T. So if you think of words that end with ST or FT or PT, they have a regular T sound, not an unreleased T sound. Let's go through some examples. Compare pat with an unreleased T versus past with a released T. Same thing with lot, unreleased, loft, released. Then finally, sit, an unreleased T, sipped with a released T. All right, everyone, that is it for this video. I hope that you learned something from it and that you don't get too bogged down in the details. Again, this is just to introduce you to some of the things that English speakers do and you may have noticed them doing, but maybe never really understood why they do them. Hopefully now that you have some of this information, you can apply it to listen closely to American English speakers and get closer to your goals of having an awesome accent. I know you can do it with some good listening and practice. Speaking of practice, let's do an exercise together. I'm going to say 5 words, and I want you to tell me in the comments down below if I said them with a flapped D, with a glottal stop or with an unreleased T. Let's go. Sweater, button, 40, what, turtle. I hope you liked these tips. If you would like further tips, I encourage you to sign up for our Go Natural English tips by clicking the link up here. It's free and it's super easy. Hope to see you at our next video. Bye!